Everyone expected the dinner to end with a signed multi-billion-dollar deal, a celebration destined to elevate a powerful business empire. Instead, it ended with shattered egos, whispered shock, and a public downfall no one saw coming. At the center of the disaster stood a wealthy socialite who believed her status made her untouchable, and a calm, respected black CEO she assumed didn't belong in her world. Within minutes, one arrogant gesture of humiliation turned an evening of luxury into a nightmare, costing her husband the deal of a lifetime. But the real question is, what exactly did she do that destroyed a $3.6 billion future in seconds? The evening had been planned for months, a private luxury dinner reserved for only the most influential figures in the corporate world. The restaurant, an exclusive rooftop venue overlooking a glittering skyline, had prepared a menu worth more than most people's rent. Waiters moved like choreography, carrying aged wines and rare delicacies, ready to impress the elite gathering. The guest of honor was Ethan Caldwell, a tech visionary whose company had been quietly revolutionizing digital security across global banking systems. His presence meant promises of innovation, partnerships, and life-altering profits. Everyone knew his signature could redirect the future of industries. That night, the Caldwell partnership was worth $3.6 billion to the host of the event, billionaire developer Bradford Sterling. Yet, for all the excitement surrounding Ethan's arrival, one person was far less impressed: Bradford's wife, Victoria Sterling. Known among high society circles for her extravagant taste and unfiltered opinions, she carried herself like royalty among peasants. Dressed in diamonds heavy enough to earn their own insurance policy, she scanned the room as though she were searching for imperfections beneath a microscope. To her, Ethan didn't fit the room she believed she owned. She measured people instantly. Charmed by luxury, threatened by intelligence, and dismissive of anyone who didn't mirror her world. Quietly, she expected the honored guest to look like her circle: old money, gray suits, familiar pedigrees. When she realized the CEO commanding the entire dinner was a black man, her expression shifted, not with curiosity, but with subtle disdain. Everyone else saw a visionary leader. Victoria saw someone she didn't think belonged. And that dangerous assumption was about to cost everything. As guests mingled over imported champagne, Ethan remained composed and observant. He never insisted on attention. It naturally gravitated toward him. Investors approached him with curiosity, eager to hear how his technology was quietly protecting global transactions. He spoke modestly, never revealing the full picture, yet demonstrating a mastery few could match. His humility contrasted sharply with the glittering arrogance that often surrounded people of wealth. But Victoria Sterling watched from afar, irritation growing with every word he shared. She wasn't used to someone earning admiration in her presence without chasing it. She dismissed his talent before she had even heard it. In her mind, success had a specific look, and it didn't align with the man commanding the room with intellect instead of opulence. She whispered judgments to the women around her, snide remarks disguised as curiosity. She questioned Ethan's background, his professionalism, even his worthiness to lead such a powerful company. Her tone left no room for misunderstanding. She simply didn't believe someone like him should wield that level of influence. Bradford, distracted by the opportunity of a lifetime, was oblivious to the undercurrent of disdain brewing at his own event. He spent the evening praising Ethan's innovations, showcasing potential expansions, excited as if the deal had already been signed. Bradford believed charm and luxury could secure anything, convinced that tonight guaranteed his empire's biggest advancement. But Victoria's fixation escalated. Her commentary grew bolder, louder, fueled by envy disguised as elitism. She viewed Ethan's intelligence not as brilliance, but as competition she couldn't control. What infuriated her most was not who Ethan was, but how effortlessly the room respected him. Meanwhile, Ethan remained unaware of her hostility, engrossed in discussions that could reshape industries. Guests praised his work ethic, his focus, and his refusal to indulge in status games. That modesty fascinated people accustomed to ego-driven leadership. Victoria, however, saw humility as weakness. When the first course arrived, Brad flaunted their vintage wine collection, boasting about rare bottles older than some of the guests in attendance. He insisted Ethan try one, eager to impress him with excess. Ethan politely declined the expensive wine due to personal preference, fully unaware that Victoria was watching closely, waiting to pounce. To her, his refusal wasn't a simple choice. It was an insult to her world. In her eyes, he wasn't rejecting a drink. He was rejecting her status, her lifestyle, her version of prestige. That single moment fueled the spark that would soon erupt into one of the most humiliating displays of entitlement the room had ever witnessed. A gesture intended as mere hospitality was about to become the trigger for a disaster worth $3.6 billion. As the main course was served, a hush fell over the table. Bradford prepared to make his grand proposal. Contracts ready, board members waiting for Ethan's agreement. Every eye was locked on the two men who would soon dominate the financial headlines. But before the deal could progress, Victoria rose with a glass of the same vintage wine Ethan had politely declined. Her smile was tight, brittle, edged with superiority. She approached him as though performing a charitable gesture, her heels slicing through the silence like accusations. With exaggerated politeness, she insisted he try something more appropriate for such a sophisticated evening. The tone was sharp, dressed in elegance but soaked in condescension. The room froze, sensing the hostility beneath her sugar-coated invitation. Ethan, still composed, repeated his preference with calm respect. But Victoria wasn't seeking respect. She wanted dominance. Before anyone could intervene, before Bradford could read the danger in her eyes, she tipped the glass forward. The dark red wine cascaded down Ethan's tailored suit, splashing across his chest like an act of ceremonial disgrace, staining him in front of CEOs, bankers, and global executives who had come to admire him. Gasps erupted like shattering glass. Forks dropped. A waiter stumbled backward. Victoria stood there smirking, convinced she had put him in his place. Certain she had proven he did not belong at her table, in her world, or alongside her husband's empire. But what she saw as humiliating him had only backfired. The entire room simultaneously recognized two things. Ethan had shown dignity. She had shown prejudice. Her smugness evaporated the instant she saw his eyes. Not angry, not shaken, but disappointed. Quietly powerful. That look alone shifted the balance of the evening. Because while she believed status gave her the final word, Ethan held something far more valuable. The power to walk away from a $3.6 billion future. And everyone knew it. The silence that followed was heavier than the spilled wine soaking through Ethan's suit. No one dared move. No one dared defend Victoria. Guests who once entertained her vanity now saw the ugliness behind the diamonds. Every second that passed made Bradford's empire crumble in real time. Ethan simply excused himself from the table, not with outrage, but with controlled elegance. There was no shouting, no retaliation, just quiet withdrawal. And that silence held more consequence than any argument ever could. As Ethan collected his things, Bradford finally recognized what had just happened. His fortune, his reputation, and his access to the future of technology now hung by a thread soaked in prejudice. He rushed to apologize, stumbling through panic, but there are mistakes that money cannot bury. Ethan listened, remaining courteous, but his decision was already sealed. He shook Bradford's hand not to agree, but to mark the end. With that gesture, the contract disappeared, and $3.6 billion evaporated in an instant. Word spread faster than any press release could contain. Investors distanced themselves from the Sterlings. Business partners withdrew. The once celebrated empire became a cautionary tale whispered across boardrooms and conferences. The world didn't side with wealth. It sided with dignity. Victoria, who believed power came from money and status, never understood the influence of respect. In trying to degrade a man she didn't think belonged, she revealed exactly who didn't belong at the table. Bradford lost his greatest deal because of a single act of arrogance. Victoria lost far more, her reputation, her influence, the illusion of untouchable privilege. Ethan, however, walked away untarnished. Not because he fought back, but because he didn't need to. Status can impress. Success can intimidate. But character reveals everything. Sometimes the loudest statement a person can make is to simply rise and walk away. If the story moved you, let it be a reminder that change begins with awareness. Every voice matters, including yours. So if you believe stories like this need to be heard, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more eye-opening stories just like this one. Your support helps bring these truths into the light.